Okay, I've got a secret to share with you. I love getting into debt. Now, I'm not talking about all types of debt, credit card debt, student loan debt, all this stuff, but I love getting into debt that allows me to hold great assets like real estate or other types of amazing investments. Sometimes I'll even borrow at a lower rate and be able to invest it at a higher rate to be able to take that spread and get a great return. So we're going to talk in this video about the differences between good and bad debt and why I'm getting all the good debt I can possibly get. All right, so welcome. My name is Bronson Hill. I'm the CEO of Bronson Equity. We do multifamily properties like this. We're also doing things like oil and gas and car washes and businesses and different types of things as well. And this is not advice. This is just my own opinion or education. Get your own advice from a professional. First of all, I talk about leverage for growth, right? If you only put cash in, you're limited on your upside, your returns. I know some people that own, they've paid for homes in cash or they've paid off their loan. And I would never want to do that. I mean, maybe there's a certain situation where it would make sense, but about 40% of the homes in the US are paid off. Now, it might gives you peace of mind, it's paid off, and I get that. That's very understandable, and I get that. But the amazing thing is that when you have debt, you can buy appreciating assets. So we know that there's a limited number of real estate, houses, of apartments, and different things like this, and that costs are going to continue to rise. So if I can borrow and I can basically buy something, let's say I buy $1 million property, and I put $200,000 down. If I have a 20% increase in the value, right? I haven't had a 20% increase in my equity. I've had a 100% increase, right? And I love that illustration because it allows me to say I can use someone else's money to be able to grow. We'll talk about that here in a minute. But what it does is this really multiplies the returns because it applies leverage. Now, it can work both ways too if you don't have the right type of debt, if you've got a shorter term debt, things like this. But if you can borrow at a lower rate, and be able to buy assets that you know are going to appreciate, it can be a really, really great way to get into good debt and be able to grow. So this is where I really differ from Dave Ramsey, and I think Dave Ramsey's great on some of the pay off the credit card debt, but to pay for investments in cash is not always beneficial. So it's something to consider. Again, no advice, just again my own opinion on what I've done with my own investments and something that I've looked at that's really generated a lot of wealth very quickly. The second thing really is the tax advantages, right? So there are tax advantages of getting into debt. One of them is that you have the mortgage interest deductions. There's also depreciation that when you get into, so again, if you were to pay cash, you'd put all this cash in here, your return on investment's typically much lower, but it also allows you, sometimes I've seen people get into deals where they're able to depreciate 100% of the money that they put in, right? Which is amazing. So if somebody invests 100K into something, they can potentially get up to 100K year one depreciation, loss. And even though, maybe they put 100K in, or maybe there's a certain amount, or maybe they're able to get in and actually get more depreciation than the money they actually put in. So those things are actually out there. They are available. There are things there that using debt, it's really advantageous. Sometimes also too, you can actually take a loan. My friend Mark Kwan, if you don't know Mark Kwan, he has the buy, borrow, die strategy, which is what he basically teaches people to do, where you get into, you have an asset such as real estate, or you buy Bitcoin or whatever, and you borrow against the value of it, and you can go buy another asset. And with the appreciation from the other asset, because you borrowed money, there's no taxable basis because you didn't really, borrowed money to be able to get there. So he's got a book coming out about that, which is pretty amazing. So the last thing here is really when you use other people's money. Robert Kiyosaki has this quote. He says, it's selfish to only use your own money, right? So maybe you're being selfish and just only using your own money. And this was a big mind shift for me that happened when I went from single family investing to go to multifamily or larger investing, right? Because I thought, well, I could never buy a big apartment building. And after my 3 or 4 single families, I had a 225 unit multifamily. Well, how did I do that? Well, I leveraged a team, I leveraged other people's money, and I was able to help solve a problem for them. And so there is a way too that getting into debt is really powerful, because you're going to get, whose money are you using? You're using the bank's money. Typically, 60 to 80% of it is the bank's money. And then sometimes you can even actually leverage other people's money to be able to get in and help you get into debt and be able to do that as well. So I love getting into good debt. I'd love to know your comments. What do you think of good debt? And how do you define good debt or bad debt? I think bad debt is something that continues to draw money, that if you, just think of credit card debt, sometimes 20% or higher interest rate is really terrible, right? Because you're just paying all this money. But if you're getting something, you're able to turn around and get a higher return, then it can be super positive for you. So love this quote here. Good debt is a powerful tool, but bad debt can kill you. Robert Kiyosaki. Sounds very uplifting, Robert. That's great. But no, it's true. Good debt can really make you very wealthy. And bad debt, if you get stuck in a bad debt situation, it can kind of bring down your whole, whatever you've built, right? So it's important to make sure you're using the right type of debt. I want to share this video with you. Cash flow versus capital growth. Cash flow is great if you want to fire yourself, like my book says behind here. If you haven't checked out, you can check that on Amazon. But cash flow is amazing because it allows you to recover your expenses and be able to leave a job. And capital growth is what allows you to grow long-term wealth. So which is better for you? You can check it out up here. It's a great video. And if you haven't joined our investment club, we're doing some amazing things. We're looking at e-commerce businesses right now. Some of these are just super. They're spinning off so much cash, which is amazing. And we look at multifamily, oil and gas, ATMs, car washes, other types of deals. You can check that out in the link below. Thanks for taking the time to educate yourself. I look forward to seeing you on the next video.